Hello, I'm Councilmember Jason Lyon, Pasadena District 7, and this is your Tuesday 2-minute-ish recap of the week's City Council meeting. We opened last night with a celebration of Pasadena High School's recent CIF Southern Section Division 13 football championship. Big congratulations to the Bulldogs. On the consent agenda, the council approved contracts for several new projects, including a Washington Park stormwater capture project, and we okayed the purchase of 5 new vehicles for the fire department. Next up was the formal opening of the public hearing on the city's Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, budget. The CIP is the city's ongoing list of major projects that need funding across several and sometimes many years. The council's deep dive on the CIP will happen in 2 weeks on April 28th, but last night we had an interesting conversation about the larger philosophical choices undergirding our spending. The reality is that we have limited resources and many competing priorities, so the question is how to strike the right balance between the necessities and the desirables, and to do that in a way that stays focused on the long-term big picture and not just dealing with this year's concerns. But speaking of this year's concerns, a big one in the proposed CIP budget are deep cuts to our transportation project budget. Managing vehicle flow is consistently a top issue we hear from constituents about here in District 7, but this year, the city manager is only proposing a total of $130,000 in new spending on transportation infrastructure. That is 0.01% of the city's annual budget. Now, sometimes that's because we have a backlog of funding that was appropriated but not spent in previous years. But rest assured that this will be a big topic of conversation on April 28th. We'll also be talking about the fact that our road repaving budget is back down to just $5.9 million, which is about half of what we need just to maintain the status quo. We'll be talking about that on April 28th as well. Next up last night were a couple of quick items, approving the city's Public Housing Agency 5-year plan to be submitted to HUD, and approving Councilmember Masuda's call for review of the Arts and Culture Commission's denial of approval of a public art installation at the soon-to-be-built Rusnak Porsche dealership on Colorado Boulevard. That'll be up for review in a couple of weeks. Last on the agenda was a very lively discussion of how the city can help facilitate rent relief for tenants whose income has been negatively impacted by the Eaton fire. You may recall that a few weeks ago, the city adopted the county's 6-month eviction moratorium for non-payment of rent. Since then, renters and landlords alike have asked the city to identify resources to allow renters to avoid mounting debt from non-payment and landlords to avoid having to subsidize their tenants for months on end. Last night, the council unanimously directed the city manager to work to establish a nonprofit partnership for rent subsidies that will be available to tenants and landlords alike. The hope is to have that up and running in the next few weeks. I'll keep you posted. As always, if you have questions, email me at jlyon@cityofpasadena.net.